Today, we're going to step way beyond the yoga mat to ask a really different kind of question. What is yoga not? We're going to peel back all those layers of myths and misconceptions to try and find the true heart of this ancient practice.
So let me ask you something. When you hear the word yoga, what's the very first image that pops into your head? For a whole lot of us, it's probably someone twisted into a pretzel-like pose. And look, while that's definitely part of the story, it's a surprisingly small part. And hey, if you feel like your idea of yoga is a little fuzzy, you are not alone. One of the sources for this explainer puts it just perfectly, saying that even though yoga is popular all over the world, most of us have a pretty vague and fuzzy idea about what it really is. So let's bring that idea into sharp focus.
Okay, let's start with the most visible part of the practice, right? The part that fills up our social media feeds, the physical stuff, the body.
This right here gets to the heart of the first major myth, that yoga is basically just a workout. But the reality is, the physical postures, they're called asanas, are just one single piece of a much, much larger puzzle. They're a component for sure, but they are not the whole picture. Not even close.
And you know what? The exact same thing applies to the breath. We hear all the time about yoga's special breathing techniques or pranayamas. And yes, they are incredibly powerful tools, but again, they're just one more piece of that same big puzzle.
All right, but what about the chanting? That's got to be yoga, right? Well, yes and no. Chanting, which is called japa, is absolutely central to certain paths, like bhakti yoga. That's the yoga of devotion. But it's a specialty, you know? It's a specific branch, not a rule for everyone.
So if yoga isn't just about contorting your body, or breathing in a certain way, or chanting, what in the world is the actual goal? This is where we have to go a little deeper into the mind's true aim.
So many people, myself included, first get into yoga to relax. And that makes total sense. But the practice itself makes a really key distinction here. Relaxation is a result. It's a byproduct, but it's not the ultimate goal. The idea is to cultivate a kind of calm that stays with you everywhere, in traffic, at work, not just on a mat in a quiet room.
Okay, so what about meditation? I mean, the two seem to get used interchangeably all the time. And while meditation is absolutely central to yoga, it's not exclusive to it. It's also a core practice in other huge traditions like Jainism and Buddhism. So think of it this way. Most yoga includes meditation, but not all meditation is yoga. Now this is where things get really interesting. Forget all those myths about levitating or developing supernatural powers. The ancient sage Patanjali, who's one of yoga's most important figures, had a pretty surprising warning. He actually called the pursuit of these powers, or siddhis, obstructions to your real spiritual progress. Can you believe that? And the last myth about the mind, that yoga is some form of bhoga, or sensual enjoyment. It's actually the complete opposite. The path isn't leading toward external pleasures, it's pointing inward, toward bliss, a state of deep mental quiet and a feeling of comfort right at your core.
All of this brings up a really important question, doesn't it? Who is this practice actually for? Is it just for some select group of people? Well, let's see if it's truly a path for everyone.
You know that image of the yogi as a hermit, someone who's totally withdrawn from the world, living in a cave? Turns out, the true path is the opposite. It's more like a two-step journey. First, you connect really deeply with your own self, and then, from that centered place, you connect more meaningfully with everybody else, with all of society.
And here we come to maybe the most common question of all. Isn't yoga just a religion? Isn't it only for Hindus? Well, according to its own foundational texts, the answer is a very clear no. The principles are open to absolutely anyone, Muslim, Sikh, Parsi, Hindu, you name it. It's presented as a way of life, not as a religious dogma you have to follow.
Ultimately, it all boils down to this one single powerful statement from the ancient texts. Yoga is beyond caste, cult, or creed. It was literally designed from its very roots to be universal.
So we spent all this time clearing away what yoga isn't. So now it's time for the big reveal. What does the word yoga actually mean?
The whole answer is hidden right there in the word itself. Yoga comes from the Sanskrit root yuj. And what does yuj mean? It means to join, to combine, to coordinate, to integrate. And that right there is the central idea.
It was never just about exercise or just about breathing. It's the practice of yoking all these different parts of yourself, your body, your breath, your mind, into one integrated, unified whole. So now that we've cleared away all the things yoga isn't, I'll just leave you with this one final question. What could this path of integration, this path of yoking, truly be for you? Thanks for listening.